Okay, so like everyone who plays games online, I feel like every day there's another article about some live service game shutting down.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, with all these online games, why are some just like going down in flames?
Right.
And then you have like World of Warcraft and Warframe just kind of like chugging along.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to dig into today. We got a bunch of articles, some forum discussions, and yeah, we want to see like what's going on here.
Yeah.
Is this like just a natural thing, or are there like bigger problems happening?
Yeah, it feels like we're at a turning point for this whole live service thing, right? I mean, look at how many games are coming out and how quickly a bunch of them are shutting down.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it's way harder to be successful than people thought.
Yeah.
And like we're seeing this big difference between the games that are popular for a minute and then the ones that stick around forever.
Right.
And it's really important for both players and developers to understand like what's actually happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start by looking at some of these games that just like completely crashed and burned.
Yeah.
It's like the live service graveyard is just getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
One that comes to mind is Conquered.
Oh, yeah.
This was a PlayStation and PC shooter.
Mm-hmm.
There was a decent amount of hype around it.
Yeah.
And then, poof, 2 weeks after it launches, the servers are shut down.
Oh.
Because, like, nobody was playing it.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was there and then it was gone.
Huh.
What does that tell us?
Yeah, I mean, like, a failure that fast really shows how brutal the market is right now. There's, like, no time to build up a player base.
Yeah.
If you don't get people playing immediately, you're spending so much money on servers and all that stuff that it's just not worth it.
Right.
So it kind of tells you that either the game wasn't good enough or, like, they didn't find the right audience or maybe there was just too much competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, and that's kind of, like, it's scary to think about.
It is.
Like, you have such a small window to really capture people's attention.
Absolutely.
And then we have another game that was, like, super hyped, but then it just blew up in, like, the worst way possible.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
The Day Before.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one?
Totally.
The zombie survival shooter?
Yeah, yeah.
It was a mess when it came out, like, super buggy and basically didn't work.
Oh, no.
And then within days, the studio was closed.
Seriously.
I mean, officially, the game was offline in under 2 months.
Yeah, that's rough.
But, yeah, it just shows you, like, how important those first impressions are.
Yeah. The Day Before is like a perfect example of why you need to have a stable game when you launch. Like, especially with live service games.
Right.
That first version of the game is like your storefront window. You know?
Totally.
If it's full of bugs or it doesn't do what it promised, people are just going to leave and they're never going to come back.
Right.
It's like almost impossible to earn back their trust at that point.
Yeah, and it's not just these, like, indie games that are having problems. Yeah. Like, even big, well-known studios are struggling.
That's true.
Like, take Babylon's Fall from Square Enix.
Oh, right.
I mean, these guys are like legends in gaming.
Huge. Yeah.
But their game got a ton of criticism.
I remember that.
For its, like, microtransactions.
Oh, yeah.
And even just how it looked.
Right.
And even though they tried to tell everyone it was doing fine, they shut it down in less than a year.
Wow.
What do you think that says about what players expect?
Yeah, I think Babylon's Fall is a good example of how you need two things to make a live service game work.
Okay.
The gameplay has to be really good, and the way you make money has to be fair.
Right.
Players are smarter now, you know?
Yeah.
They can tell when a game is trying to squeeze every penny out of them.
Yep.
And if they don't enjoy playing the game and they feel like they have to spend money to get anywhere, they're just going to quit.
Right.
Doesn't matter how big the studio is.
It's interesting, too, because you would think that taking a game that's already super popular and putting it on a new platform would be like a guaranteed win.
Right.
Like Apex Legends Mobile.
Oh, yeah.
It's based on a huge console and PC game.
Yeah, for sure.
But it got shut down after only 11 months. And they said it was because the quality was going down.
Oh, interesting.
But you got to think, like, maybe there weren't enough players, too.
Yeah, I mean, mobile gaming is a different world, right?
Yeah, it is.
What works on a PC or console might not work on a phone.
Right.
It's tough to keep the quality high and keep people playing on all these different platforms.
Yeah, it's a whole other set of challenges.
Yeah, and I bet there were other reasons, too.
Right.
Like maybe they had bigger plans for the Apex Legends franchise as a whole.
Yeah, and then you have games like Rumbleverse.
What was that one?
It was a wrestling battle royale game.
Oh, Oh, interesting.
It got like really good reviews,
Oh, wow.
even award nominations.
Cool.
But Epic Games decided to shut it down after 6 months.
Oh, man.
That one is like really confusing.
I-
It was unique and people liked it, but it still couldn't make it.
Yeah, I mean, it shows just how competitive things are.
Yeah.
Especially in the Battle Royale genre.
Right.
You can have a great game with a cool twist,
Yeah.
but you still need to keep adding new stuff to keep people interested.
Right.
And you got to spend a lot of money on marketing.
Yeah.
Maybe Epic just thought it wasn't worth it in the long run.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, are studios feeling pressure to just chase whatever's popular?
Mm-hmm.
Like after Lawbreakers, which was that hero shooter
Oh, yeah.
that had that cool gravity stuff,
I remember that one.
it didn't get a big enough audience,
Right?
and it shut down after 13 months.
Yeah.
Boss Key Productions, like, immediately made a Battle Royale game.
Oh, so they were trying to jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah, like Radical Heights.
Right, right.
But it wasn't enough to save them.
Too bad.
I mean, it's like chasing trends can actually kill your company if you're not careful,
That's a good point.
you know? Yeah, it's like you're so focused on what's hot right now
Right.
that you forget to make a game that's actually good and unique.
Yeah. Players can tell when a game is just trying to cash in on a trend.
Totally.
You know, they can
Yeah.
feel it if the developers aren't really passionate about it.
Right. It feels like there's this lack of heart,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And the list goes on and on.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Like Anthem,
Oh, yeah.
that had so much potential,
Right.
but it just wasn't executed well.
Mm.
And then they tried to revive it,
Mm-hmm.
but that got canceled too.
Oh, that's right.
And Suicide Squad. Kill the Justice League?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be huge.
Yeah, it had the whole Arkham legacy behind it.
Right.
But people just lost interest so fast.
Yeah.
The gameplay wasn't really grabbing people.
Right.
And it felt like they were forcing the live service stuff.
Totally. Like it didn't really fit.
Right.
And Marvel's Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
That was another one that tried to cram in live service features. But it had a really rough launch.
Yeah.
And in the end, it just wasn't successful.
Right.
And even Red Dead Online.
Yeah.
People were always comparing it to GTA Online.
Right.
And saying it wasn't getting enough updates.
Yeah, GTA Online is constantly evolving.
Right. And Rocket Arena.
Oh, yeah.
It had problems with balance and content.
Right.
It's kind of disheartening, you know?
It is.
It's like it's super hard to make a successful live service game these days.
Yeah, it definitely shows you how tough it is. You
Right.
need so much money and people and time,
Yeah.
not just to launch the game, but to keep it growing and changing.
Right.
And it seems like even a small mistake can kill your game.
So why are we seeing so many of these games fail?
Mm-hmm.
One thing that keeps coming up is like market saturation.
Right.
It feels like every multiplayer game wants to be a live service.
Yeah, especially those popular genres like battle royales and hero shooters.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does a new game even stand out?
It's a huge problem, right?
It is.
There are so many games out there.
Yeah.
And players only have so much time and money.
Right.
And these genres are already dominated by big games that have been around for years.
Yeah.
With tons of content and big communities.
Yeah.
So if a new game wants to be successful,
Yeah.
it needs to be really special.
Yeah.
It can't just be another version of the same thing.
Right.
It has to offer something completely new.
Right. Like a totally different experience.
Yeah, or at least a way better version of what's already out there.
Right.
It's getting harder to make a game that appeals to everyone.
Yeah.
So maybe the key is to focus on a smaller group of players who aren't being served by the big games.
Yeah. Maybe find your niche.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the other thing is, these games require so much from you.
That's true.
Like you got to grind to level up.
Yeah.
You got to participate in these limited time events.
Uh-huh.
You got to buy the battle pass. It's like
Yeah.
a full-time job.
It's a commitment for sure.
Yeah. And most people don't have time to keep up with like 5 different live service games.
Totally.
So they're going to pick the ones where their friends are already playing.
Right.
So that gives the big established games a huge advantage.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
The social aspect is huge.
Yeah.
If your friends are playing a certain game,
Yeah.
you're way more likely to play it too,
Right.
even if a new game looks better.
Right?
So for a new game,
Yeah.
getting a lot of players early on
Yeah.
and building that sense of community,
Yeah.
that's like the biggest challenge.
And then there's the cost of keeping these games running.
Yeah, that's another big one.
It's not just about making the game in the first place.
Right.
You got to keep adding new content.
Mm-hmm.
You got to fix bugs.
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep the servers up and running.
Yeah,
And you got to keep marketing the game.
right.
That's a ton of money.
It is.
Even big studios can run into trouble if not enough people are playing.
That's true.
And for smaller developers, it can be impossible.
Yeah. I think a lot of people underestimate how expensive it is to run a live service game.
Yeah.
It's not just the initial development cost.
Right.
It's the constant flow of money you need to keep the game fresh and fun and working properly.
Right.
And that could go on for years.
Yeah.
And if people stop playing or even just play less,
Yeah.
that whole financial plan falls apart.
Right.
And that's when you start seeing those tough decisions.
Yeah, like shutting down the game.
Right.
And honestly, I think some players are just getting tired of the whole live service thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like the battle passes, the loot boxes, the
Yeah.
feeling that you constantly have to be spending money,
Right.
the fear of missing out.
Yeah, the FOMO.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like sometimes these things feel more important than actually making a good game.
It's true.
Yeah.
Players are definitely getting more picky, and they
Yeah.
don't like it when a game feels like it's just trying to take their money.
Right.
They want to feel like they're getting something worthwhile. And they want games that are fun to play without having to constantly shell out cash.
Right.
So, yeah, I think players are pushing back against some of these monetization schemes.
Yeah. And I think that's part of why some of these live service games are failing.
Makes sense.
You know.
Totally.
We've also seen games that maybe didn't need to be live service.
Yeah.
But they tried to force it anyway.
Yeah.
Like Suicide Squad and Redfall.
Right.
They might have been better if they were just like regular games.
It's like they were trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not every game needs to be constantly updated and evolving.
Exactly.
And maybe some players just want a more traditional experience.
It's possible that some developers are misunderstanding what players actually want,
Yeah, maybe.
you know?
And then there's the whole question of price.
Yeah.
It feels like, especially for those competitive multiplayer games,
Mm-hmm.
everyone expects them to be free to play.
It's true.
So if a new game comes out
Mm.
and it costs money,
Right.
it's already at a disadvantage.
Yeah. It's hard to compete with all the free games out there.
Right? Like Conquered, it launched with a price tag, and maybe that's part of why it failed.
Yeah. The free-to-play model has really changed things.
Yeah, it has.
It makes it so much easier for people to try a game
Right.
because they don't have to pay anything up front.
Right.
So it's easier to get a lot of players right away,
Right.
which is super important for a live service game.
Right. You need that initial boost,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
And if you're a paid game, it's way harder to convince people to choose you over a free game.
That's true.
And finally, some of these failed games were just kind of unoriginal.
Yeah.
Like they weren't really bringing anything new to the table.
Like they were just rehashing old ideas.
Yeah, the first Descendant,
Oh, yeah.
people said it was too similar to Destiny 2 and Warframe.
I mean, if you're in a market that's already full of games,
Yeah.
you gotta do something to stand out.
Right.
If your game isn't offering anything new, players aren't gonna switch from the games they're already playing.
Yeah.
You gotta be creative and take risks,
Right.
and you gotta really understand what players are looking for.
So we've talked about a lot of reasons why live service games are failing,
Yeah.
but there are some games that are doing really well,
Right?
like World of Warcraft and Warframe.
Yeah. Those are the big ones?
Yeah, they seem to be handling all these challenges just fine.
They're doing something, right?
Let's start with World of Warcraft.
Okay.
I mean, it's been around forever.
Yeah, it's practically ancient in gaming terms.
Right.
Like, how do they keep it going?
What's the secret?
Well, I think a few things are working in their favor.
Okay.
First of all, they were one of the first really big MMORPGs.
Right?
They kind of set the standard for everyone else.
Yeah.
And because they were first,
Yeah.
they got a huge number of players.
Right.
And those players are really loyal.
And those players have been playing for like years and years.
Exactly.
They have so much invested in the game. Like their characters, their guilds, their memories.
It's more than just a game for them.
Totally.
It's like a second life.
Right. And that kind of loyalty is super valuable.
Yeah, it's hard to compete with that.
And it's interesting because I was reading some forum discussions,
Mm.
and some people were saying that if World of Warcraft ever died,
Oh, wow.
it might actually be a good thing for the MMORPG genre
Really?
because it would force other developers to come up with new ideas.
Interesting.
Like World of Warcraft is so dominant
Yeah.
that it might be stifling innovation.
Yeah, because everyone's trying to be the next World of Warcraft instead
Yeah.
of trying to do something completely new.
Right. And someone else on the forums said something that I thought was really cool.
Oh, what's that?
They said that back in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
World of Warcraft was like a form of social media
Oh, wow.
before Facebook and Twitter and all that.
That's a great point.
It was a place where people could connect and build communities online.
It was like a virtual world.
Yeah. And that social aspect is like a huge part of why the game is still so popular.
I think that's really insightful.
No.
It's not just about playing the game, it's about the people you play with
Right.
and the friendships you make.
And even though World of Warcraft has had its ups and downs,
Yeah.
they've always kept releasing new expansions and updates,
Right.
which gives people a reason to keep playing.
It keeps things fresh.
Yeah.
And it shows the players that the developers are still invested in the game.
And now let's talk about Warframe.
Okay.
It's another one of those free-to-play games that's been around for a long time,
Yeah, it's been going strong for years.
and it's still doing really well.
I know. It's crazy.
Actually, one of the articles we read didn't even include it in their lists of successful live service games.
Really?
And our source material actually called them out on that.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was a big oversight.
It was.
But yeah, Warframe is like a perfect example of how to do free-to-play, right?
Yeah. What do you think makes it so successful?
Well, I think a big part of it is that it's free.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
It makes it easy for anyone to try it out.
Right. No risk involved.
But more importantly, they've been really good about adding new content.
Yeah.
Like big expansions and updates that keep the game feeling fresh and exciting.
And they give players something to work towards.
Right. And they've also been really smart about how they make money.
Oh, yeah.
They mostly sell cosmetic items.
Right.
So it doesn't feel pay to win.
That's a good approach.
You know.
Definitely.
And I think that's why the community is so positive about the game.
It makes sense.
And it's interesting because in one of our sources,
Yeah.
The First Descendant, which is a newer looter shooter,
Right.
got compared to Warframe.
Okay.
And not in a good way.
Oh, really?
Like, people were saying that Warframe is just better,
Wow.
even though it's much older.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and it shows you that Warframe is doing something right.
Yeah.
Like, they have a really solid foundation.
Yeah.
And they've managed to stay relevant and popular,
Right.
even after all these years.
It's amazing how they can still compete with these new games,
Yeah, it really is.
you know?
So what can we learn from all of this?
Yeah, like what makes a live service game successful?
Like, what can developers take away from these successes and failures?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that you need to be different.
Okay.
Like your game needs to stand out from the crowd,
Right.
either by offering something completely new
Yeah.
or by doing something that's already been done,
Yeah.
but doing it way better than anyone else.
Right.
You got to give players a reason to choose your game over all the others.
And obviously the gameplay has to be really good.
Absolutely. That's the foundation of everything.
Yeah.
If the game isn't fun to play,
Yeah.
nothing else matters.
Right.
You can have the best content updates in the world,
Yeah.
the fairest monetization system.
Right.
But if the gameplay is boring,
Yeah.
no one's going to stick around.
And you got to keep adding new content.
Yeah, you got to keep things fresh.
Right.
You can't just release the game and then forget about it.
Right. You got to give people a reason to keep coming back.
Exactly.
And those updates have to be meaningful.
That's right.
It can't just be like little tweaks here and there. You got to add substantial stuff.
Yeah, new features, new stories, new challenges.
Yeah. And you got to do it on a regular schedule.
That's important too.
So people know what to expect.
Yeah, it builds trust and excitement.
And we've talked about this a lot, but the monetization has to be fair.
Yeah, you got to find a way to make money without making players feel ripped off.
Right.
Most players are okay with spending money on cosmetic items.
Right.
Like skins and emotes.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't give them an advantage in the game.
Exactly.
And listening to the community is super important.
Oh, for sure.
You got to pay attention to what players are saying and actually respond to their feedback.
Yeah, and be transparent about your plans for the game.
Right.
And involve the community in the development process as much as possible.
It's like you're building the game together.
Yeah, the community can be your biggest asset.
And it might seem obvious, but the game has to work properly.
Totally.
Like, it can't be buggy or laggy or crash all the time.
No one wants to play a broken game.
And finally, if you're a new game,
Mm-hmm.
you got to have something that makes you stand out.
Right.
Like, you're either the first game to do something or you're doing it better than anyone else.
Yeah, it's tough to compete with the big established games.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the live service market is in a weird place right now.
It is.
There are so many games,
Yeah.
and it's really expensive to keep them running.
Mm.
And players are getting tired of some of the things that live service games do.
Right.
But there's still some games that are doing really well,
Yeah.
like World of Warcraft and Warframe.
They're the exceptions to the rule.
Yeah. And they're doing well because they offer something unique,
Mhm.
and they're constantly improving.
And they treat their players fairly.
Yeah.
It all comes down to giving players a reason to keep playing.
Yeah.
A live service game shouldn't just be about making money.
Yeah.
It should be about creating a fun and engaging experience that people want to be a part of.
Yeah. And that makes you wonder, like, what's going to happen next?
Right.
Like, with all these challenges, will we see more single-player games?
Maybe.
Or will developers come up with new ways to support their games
Possibly.
that don't rely on the traditional live service model?
That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time to be a gamer.
It is.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.